We talk a lot about AI and climate pressure in the abstract, but what does that actually mean inside the buildings we rely on every day? Stay tuned to find out. Hello, friends! You are watching or listening, depending on the platform of your choice, a brand new episode of the Green New Perspective podcast, your favorite place on the internet if you want to discover innovative technologies or marketing strategies that are fueling growth in this space. My guest today is Robert Hemmerdinger. He's the Chief Sales and Marketing Officer at Delta Controls, a company where AI, sustainability, and infrastructure turn into real-life decisions for hospitals, universities, and data centers. Delta Control began in the 70s with a straightforward mission to save energy, but as Robert explains, that mission evolved into creating safer, smarter, and tightly controlled environments in some of the most demanding spaces, like operating rooms, isolation wards, server halls, so every environment where precision is a non-negotiable. So stay tuned to hear how technology is making that possible.
This episode of Green New Perspective is brought to you by New Perspective Marketing. For over 20 years, New Perspective has helped future-focused B2B tech companies grow by building thought leadership, attracting better qualified leads, and driving pipeline growth. If you're ready for smart strategies, measurable results, and a partner who's invested in your success, visit npws.com to learn more. Hello, Robert. So for listeners who haven't met you yet, can you tell us about your background and how did you end up leading sales and marketing in the building automation world?
Hi. My name's Robert Hemmerdinger. I'm the Chief Sales and Marketing Officer for Delta Controls, and I've just gone into my 27th year in this industry, which I cannot quite believe. I completely fell into this in the industry of smart buildings, building automation. I think most of us do, really. I don't think anyone's kind of wakes up as a 6-year-old boy and thinks, I'm going to be a controls engineer. So I completely fell into it after school. Literally just saw an advertisement for a company called Andover Controls in the UK. At the European headquarters, went in as a young engineer, did technical support, did some training, did some project engineering, went into product management, looked after the product management for Andover, which was then acquired by Schneider Electric, a rather large organization in this space. I then helped with them with releasing their large product line and managing all of their building automation from a product management point of view, went into sales, started a few different teams. At some point in all of this journey, I moved from the UK to the Boston area of the US. And about 8 years ago, I was lucky enough it's a very small industry that we all work in. So I was very lucky enough to get connected with some old colleagues at Delta Controls and end up running the sales and marketing business.
And for someone who's new to Delta, the company, how would you describe what the company does?
Sure. So we do building automation. Company's about 40 years old. Everything we do actually is in the Vancouver area. So that's really where the company started. It's a global company. We sell through systems integrators. We have about 350 of them around the world. Up until 9 years ago, we're completely standalone, independent organization. And 9 years ago, we were acquired by Delta Electronics. Delta Electronics is a global manufacturer of all kinds of electrical devices. Primarily, the biggest market we serve is power systems. So every time Apple sells an iPhone, it includes a little power supply from Delta Electronics, and you can imagine how many iPhones are sold literally every minute of every day. So it's a large organization in the billions of dollars, based out of Taiwan. And over the last couple of years, they've created a smart buildings group. So we have a video surveillance company, we have various building automation technologies, lighting technologies, and that's all part of the smart buildings team. The Delta Controls piece of that, and it's rather confusing because we're both called Delta, and that's just pure coincidence, but it definitely saved on rebranding and cut down on business card expenditure. We are, like I said, we're 350 odd people, 350 odd integrators around the world. We do smart building solutions. We're quite innovative. We've done a lot of things, I would say, that are brand new over the years. We've been very instrumental in the creation of BACnet, which is the standard for building automation systems, how they communicate to each other, how they're open systems. I actually happen to sit on the BACnet International Board of Directors. So And we have many of us within Delta that are active in the community with open standards, with interoperability, with communication, pushing the industry forward. We have an integrated lighting solution, an integrated access control product, as well as building automation systems. So you can literally run the whole building or a good portion of the building all from one front end, all from one system. We were the first to the market with something called BATnet Secure Connect, which is an encrypted way buildings can communicate with each other in this cybersecurity world in which we live in today. We were the first to market with a SaaS solution. So we have a building management system, which is a true software as a service, a true cloud platform. So we've got some lovely people all squirreled away in Vancouver that create some really cool technology, and I'm the lucky guy that gets to go around the world telling people about it. So I got the easy job.
Now, can you simplify what Delta does? Like, can you tell us which specific problems do you help customers solve in their, let's say, day-to-day operations?
Sure. So our typical customers are large commercial office buildings. So universities, large commercial offices. We do very well in airports, data centers, healthcare, stadiums, things like that. K through 12 schools, universities, colleges. And primarily what we're doing is the building management system controls the HVAC equipment. So we're controlling heating, lighting, air conditioning, ventilation, access control, security, and CCTV. And obviously, depending on the application, depending on what they want to do. In a hospital's needs is very different to a university's needs. Hospital's need is around keeping the environment correct for the patient, and they have tight regulations around temperature and humidity that they have in the space. They have tight regulations around how many air changes have to happen in the space. We control all of that, so we're controlling the mechanical systems that are serving air, heat, water, and into those spaces and cooling with our control system. And enabling the customer, and if we kind of stick with the healthcare, for example, at the minute, enabling the healthcare provider to balance meeting the regulations that they need to be compliant within that healthcare environment, along with the energy that they obviously trying to keep their costs as low as possible, looking out for sustainability goals, ESG solutions as well. And then we often help those customers with other problems. Again, I'll stick with healthcare, things like asset tagging. That's a big problem in hospitals, is they've got so much stuff and stuff goes missing. So crash carts, nursing carts that have all the tools that the nurses need to be able to do to look after the patients. So we integrate to real-time location systems. There's a new term for it now, and I can't remember quite what it is, but what used to be called baby tagging. So when a baby's born, they have a little tag put on them, and we know where they are in the hospital. And if they go somewhere where they shouldn't, i.e. someone is doing something very nefarious, an alarm goes off, and everyone rushes to where they need to be. So we help our customers go into those other areas where they have problems that need solving. Again, it depends what it is. It depends on the customer. Our platform has been, and I'd say we've been quite lucky in that our platform is a mixture of something that it's very flexible. So you can do some great things with it. It really is a platform. It's a tool that enables people to do what they want with it's like a toolkit. We don't necessarily give our customers the complete answer, but we give them the tools to create the answer. And our immediate customers are systems integrators, and they are very smart people. They are people that come up with ideas that we never would have in a million years. And the best example the best analogy I could use is it's like Excel. So Microsoft makes Excel, and it's a fantastic piece of software. And then all the way around the world, you have these great people that create these spreadsheets with all these charts and all these formulas. And you think, my goodness, that's a pretty impressive thing. I don't even understand how that thing works. Our platform's very similar, but in the smart building space.
You've mentioned that Delta is a 40-year-old company, so it has a long history in building automation. How has your role evolved as the market shifted towards AI, data, connectivity?
Yeah, it's amazing, actually. It was a few years ago, I had the realization that digitalization is something that constantly happens. I said I've been in this industry 29 years now. And I remember when I joined, there was a big push to have the paperless office. And so that's really 29 years ago. That's when email was really coming in. There was still some fax machines kicking around the office, and we used faxes a lot. and paper. There was memos and things, but really email was really starting to kick off. And we felt really digital. We felt really smart and connected, and we felt like we had digitalized our environment. And it was only a few years ago I realized that actually going digital is not something that is one and done. It is something that continues to evolve over time. And I think we're now seeing that with what's happening with AI and everything that encompasses and will continue to do so. So sitting here right now and talking about AI, I imagine how dumb we will sound in 5 years when we look back at this recording and go, what were we thinking? We didn't know what we were talking about at all. And it's very similar in our space. Our customers' needs have changed over time. This industry was born out of energy conservation. So until kind of the 70s, buildings were just left running. They were fully heated or fully cooled. The lights were left on. And then you had the energy crisis in the 70s, and that really spurred and also an adoption of digital electronics enabled this industry to be created. So we've always been about saving energy, but then we've shifted over time into helping customers solve other problems. I'll stick with healthcare as an example because this is one of my favorites. We had one of our integrators in the Pacific Northwest of the US, in Idaho, had a hospital where they had a problem in the operating theater where the surgical team were getting frustrated with the HVAC system, and that on the thermostat on the wall was saying one temperature, but it was saying, they were setting it to say 69 degrees, but it was hot. It was so hot that the surgeon was actually, sweat was dripping off their head and onto the patient, right? That is not a good position to be in. You do not want to be that patient in that environment. So the staff were frustrated, the surgical team, the nursing staff, obviously the patient's not in a good position. And it's starting to go out of tolerance of what is acceptable to meet compliance with the various regulatory factors that they have to adhere to. And it got to the point where the surgical glue that they used to sew the patient back together again, that was going out of its tolerable range as well. So that was spoiling because of the heat in the room. So of course, what they would do is they would go over and they would change the set point and they would try and bring the temperature down, but the room would overcompensate. It would go too low. And then they would start to get cold. And you don't want to be cold in a space either. Really bad for the patient, really bad for the team. And all of this was because the thermostat was so far away. These rooms are, operating theaters now are huge spaces with a lot of equipment in them. How the room is cooled is very interesting. They have what's called a large diffuser, which sits in the ceiling that pumps air out, and it creates a curtain over the patient and then goes along the room and up the walls. So this was the problem that our integrator was given. They did a thermodynamic study on the space where they looked at the space and they used thermal cameras to understand how the airflow is going and how the heat and the cooling is reaching different parts of the space. And then what they end up doing is deploying one of our sensors, which is called the O3 sensor. It is a sensor hub and it lives on the ceiling. So we've taken all of the different bits of plastic that you would normally stick on the wall, such as a temperature sensor, a humidity sensor, a light sensor, a light switch. We've taken all of that and we've put it onto the ceiling. And what that also does is it doesn't measure just the temperature up at the ceiling. It uses infrared to measure temperature anywhere in the space. So we calibrate the sensor to measure exactly where the patient is on the bed. And it's a very unique piece of technology. We actually have a patent on that technology, and we use it in all kinds of different scenarios, all kinds of different segments. But for this specific example in the operating theater, we were able to measure exactly what the temperature was, where the patient was being operated on. We fed that back into the system. And within days, we brought what was called hunting. The room's going, and I'm sure you've been in a space where the room's gone hot, then cold, then hot, then cold, then hot, then cold. And it's so frustrating. It's brought the temperature back down to a tolerable space. The staff are happy. The patients really don't know what's going on, but they are in a much better place from a health and safety point of view. The surgical staff are happy. They're back in hitting their tolerances. And that's a problem, kind of going back to your question of what's changed. We are now, with our technology, helping patients have a safer surgical experience, go through a safer medical procedure. We never would have done that 30 years ago when I joined this industry. That was not a conversation that we would have had. So helping customers, really understanding their pain points, what are they trying to do as a business? What are their goals? What are their priorities? And helping them with our solution is something that's changed over the years. And it's It's really good actually, because it's a lot more fun conversation to have.
Who knew there's so much drama in the world of building automation, right?
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
Most manufacturers have the same challenge: marketing, sales, and finance all looking at different numbers. In this webinar, we'll walk you through how to set up HubSpot so everything connects, letting you see cost per request for quote, pipeline velocity, payback period, and true revenue impact in one unified view. If you want real visibility into marketing's impact, register today.
But selling complex systems like HVAC isn't easy, I guess. So what would you say are the biggest marketing or sales challenges in this industry?
I think probably communicating that value. You know, how do you walk someone through that use case? I think is probably our biggest challenge right now. Is a lot of, like I said, we create a toolkit, and then how you apply that really is down to integrators. It's down to this community that we have out there. So peeling that back and explaining some of those, and there's some things we do we can't really communicate. You know, we do projects. We obviously do. You know, like a lot of people. If you think about buildings, sometimes they're very complex. We do government buildings. We do, you know, secret stuff that we're not allowed to talk about. We even just have customers that are very private. You know, especially now in the world of data centers. Data centers is a booming market. We've seen probably a 30-40% increase in data center sales this year alone, all because of AI. It was because of working from home and everyone downloading an app every 5 minutes on their phone 5 years ago. Now, really, it's AI and the thirst that's driving that industry, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. So we do some great things in that space, but we've signed NDAs and customers have IP on the technology that they've created, so we can't really talk about it, which is a bit disappointing. But yeah, I would say the biggest challenge from a sales and marketing perspective is conveying that value to customers, and also having the sales force out there to go and have that conversation, because it's a different conversation that you have with a customer. It's a lot more consultative rather than transactional. It's a lot more about trying to sit down, spend time with them, understand their pain points, understand why it matters to them, what difference is it going to make to their business, and then taking a step back and really removing any personal or professional goals that you have and looking at it from a purely engineering perspective. What is the best solution here? And it might not be my solution. It might be someone else's solution. It may be no solution, but really looking at it through with a very altruistic viewpoint. No real self-driver for a sale or for an order.
How do you balance educating the audience versus just selling to them?
It's a good question. I would say we probably do more educating than anything else because of our systems integrators who we sell to. Some of them we've actually had a 40-year relationship with. So it's a long-term relationships that we build with our customers. We have many in the 20 plus years. I would say over half of our customers have been with us for 20 years. So when you have that relationship, it's very symbiotic. Our success is based on their success, and their success is based on our success, because they literally wrap their business around our solution. Our solution is what they add their secret sauce into and take to market. So if we don't get it right, then they're in trouble. So similarly, we really listen to them. We have a number of different ways in which we do that. Whenever we start a development project, whenever we're creating any new technology, all of our customers are invited at various stages throughout the process, very much at the vision, at the very early conception stage. We tell them what we're going to do, we invite for feedback. And then when we start developing, we stop and we show them how we're progressing and whether they like the look of it, whether they've got ideas and suggestions, they want to steer us in one way or another. And that happens at multiple stages through us creating a latest piece of technology. And then they get involved in feedback. So they will tell us, try the product for us, provide us some feedback. So, now any bugs that we may have in those very early stages. And then that's kind of at the product level. At the strategic level, we have a number of advisory boards around the world. So about once a quarter, we get some trusted people from around our customer base. We get them in a room. We explain to them what's going on with our company, with Delta. What's our revenue look like? What's our profit look like? What are our pain points? What are the things we're thinking about doing? What are our strategies? And we welcome that feedback, and they literally help us steer the organization. They're like our external advisory board. They're like an external board of directors that help us drive the organization. And these individuals are all CEOs or presidents within their own right, and they get on a plane once a quarter and come and see us to give us that advice. And that keeps us very, that between those two things, it very much creates a good relationship, a very educational relationship between us and them.
Well, talking about the relationship building, how have you and your team approached that relationship building in a sector that has historically been driven by engineering rather than marketing?
That's a good question. I would say because of those relationships that we have, that's how we fostered those relations. I think because of that long-term 20 plus year for most of our customers, that's given us that base of engineering excellence. The engineering excellence doesn't necessarily live within our organization, it lives within our customer's organization. So that gives us that nice foundation, that nice cushion to be able to then have more of a marketing conversation or more of a commercial conversation with the outside world than relying on features and benefits and technical specifications, if that makes sense.
And do you feel like the situation is changing?
I think AI is going to change everything in ways in which we could never imagine, and we can't keep up with it. No human can. So it's about picking your battles. We've picked a very specific one, which is helping our customers do more with the resources they have. AI in our industry, I think, is going to be a blessing, not a curse. So like I said, we have 300 systems integrators around the world. Whenever I talk to any single one of them, they all say they have plenty of work. They have plenty of orders coming in. They have plenty of revenue. They have plenty of new opportunities that they can go and chase. There are buildings that need our technology, and they have no problems going and winning that work. The problem they have is executing it. The problem they have is engineering staff. The problem they have is project managers. The problem they have is developers and graphics creators that actually sit and go back to my example of the Excel spreadsheet, the people that sit there and put the data into the Excel spreadsheet. So with that in mind, AI is we have a talent resource problem in our industry, and AI is come in at the perfect time to help us fix that talent resource issue. So at Delta, we're working very hard on creating tools that help our integrators be a lot more efficient with the resources that they have. So we launched a product called Building Canvas a month ago now, at our big global conference. It's kind of a pre-launch. We're actually going to go to beta at the end of this year in about 6 weeks time, I guess. And then we'll go for general release, public release in early 2026. And the goal with Building Canvas, and we're very confident that we can hit this goal, is to reduce our integrators' engineering time by 50%. So they can do twice as much work as they used to be able to do with the same amount of resources that they had this year to next year.
And what kind of reactions are you seeing?
Fantastic. We had Amazon AWS has been one of our business partners on this process. We had them at our conference. Between our speakers, and we had some of their speakers at our conference, the message has been received very well. We had about 400 people at our conference a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, the message was received very well. They understand what we're doing. They're very much looking forward to it. As always, when you go to a conference and someone unveils a new piece of software, you always want to see the proof. After all, I love all of these people, but they're engineers, so they want their hands on it. They want to test it. They want to see it before they believe it. But no, they completely understand the direction we're going. And it's quite different to what our competition are doing. Our competitors are putting the on the finished product. We're putting the AI into the creation of the system. So what happens is, if you put the AI in at that level, you start to build up what's known as a digital twin of the building. And digital twins are something it's been talked about a lot. Digital twins are used in the world all the time. The best example I can give for anyone who's unfamiliar with the term is Google Maps. So Google Maps is a virtual representation of the real world, and it overlays real-time information, i.e. traffic. So I can drive down a road, I can be looking at a map on my phone, and I can literally see where I'm going, and I can see if there's traffic coming, right? It's a virtual representation of something that's real with live data coming into it. A digital twin has been available for the buildings market for a while, but we've never really known what to do with it. And it's been quite expensive to create one on a building that already exists. What we're doing with our solution is we've focused on the creation point of it. We're using AI to reduce the amount of time you have to put into the creation, and you get the digital twin for free because you've applied it at the very creation of it. It auto generates this digital twin technology and pretty much freely gives it to our customers, which is quite unique. To this day, I haven't seen anyone else doing that.
You've mentioned that you're helping your clients to reach their sustainability goals. So how do you see sustainability and innovative tech intersecting, especially with the use of AI, which can definitely help, but also is not that sustainable itself?
Yeah, that's a good point. On AI sustainability, there's a lot of very smart people, much smarter than I, that have said that AI will fix its own sustainability issue. So AI will get to the point where it knows how to be a lot more sustainable, how to use a lot less energy, and it just hasn't quite got there yet. The model needs to keep running, it needs to keep learning, because at the minute it's running at about 300-400 IQ. It's in a very short amount of time, it's going to be running at about 4,000 IQ. And at that stage, it will work out how to be a lot more efficient than it is right now. Our customers' ability goals, every single one of them has something, whether it's they want to have to be a LEED Platinum building, a net zero building, whether they have corporate ESG goals coming down. The problem actually, again, is time. They don't have the time to be able to go and do it. They've either not given the budget, the resources, or a mixture of all three to be able to go in and action those plans. Many of them know what they need to do because their building is already telling them through one mechanism or another, or at least they know the software or the tools or the programs they need to put in place to be able to go and figure that out. I think where AI is really going to help is, again, that shortage in resources. So they're not being given the people, they're not being given the time. This is where AI can help. This is where AI is the perfect answer to it's that extra tool you have in your toolkit to be able to say, okay, I'm going to put AI at that, I'm going to try that, see what happens, and see if that brings down my energy, or see if it can come up with new ways of being more sustainable, finding a new energy source, reducing my carbon usage, and so on. So yeah, I don't think it's quite there yet, as truly something that you could roll out with a flick of a switch. But I think it's certainly heading in that direction.
And what trends are you watching most closely right now in the building automation or energy management space?
I would say the things that are really most interesting, I think there's two things that are happening, which are very interesting. One is, I think there's I'm going to go with three. There's cybersecurity, which isn't going away and obviously is increasing, but there's majority of the buildings in the world are old. If you go around any city, there's only so many cranes, right? So majority of the buildings are 20 plus years old, maybe even 30 plus years old, which often means they have 20 to 30-year-old technology inside them. From a cybersecurity point of view, that leaves a lot of vulnerabilities. So upgrading buildings to better cybersecurity standards, I think, is a really interesting trend that's going to happen. And we're already seeing some hackers, some nefarious types go and target systems and try and bring buildings down. And often these are buildings that are critical in nature, whether they be data centers or airports or things like that. But even a K through 12 school, if you brought that down, it could be hugely disruptive to the community if all of a sudden all the power went off in the building. But I think cybersecurity, modernizing cybersecurity, is one. The other next phase, I think, for our industry is going to be open programming. So right now we have open standards as to how different technologies communicate with each other and how they share data. But the programming, the actual code that you put into them, is still proprietary. Each manufacturer has its own little secret sauce and holds on to that. I think that's going to start changing in the next couple of years, which starts to create a more open marketplace, a more of a space that we're used to in the IT world, in that I buy a laptop, but I can put different applications on it from different from different companies. It's going to be more of a open IT environment. And then I think the other one is data centers. I think data centers is a fascinating space right now. They're going through a technology change as well as they go more liquid cooling. They go more what they call the chip to grid technology, which is being started to roll out. And just the insatiable growth that we see in data centers it doesn't seem to be slowing down, doesn't seem to be stopping. So that's the other one that I've got my eye on is data center space.
And for other marketing or sales leaders in tech industries, what's one lesson you've learned about connecting with complex engineer-driven audience?
Customer value. Always bring it back to the customer value if you can, because we all love the tech. We all love the technology. We all love the little gadgets and the wizards and the bits of cool systems that we all create in this engineering world. But always bring it back to customer value if you can, and you should. Otherwise, what's the point? And what I mean by that is that when I say a customer value, I just go back to that example of our sensor making sure the temperature was right for the patient in the operating theatre, and what that did for the clinical staff, what that did for the operating team, what that did for the patient that didn't even know it was happening. That's the real customer value of a solution. So whenever you're working, whenever you're communicating, that's the right message to have.
And when we talk about Delta, what are you most excited about looking ahead?
Probably probably our new AI platform, Canvas, building Canvas. I think reducing your engineering time by 50% this could be revolutionary. This could be really change the industry. It's not many times you get to have in our industry at any rate. I think sometimes others may fare better with this in other businesses, but reducing engineering time by 50% is a real game changer. So that's the most exciting thing for us, certainly in the next 12, 18 months.
And we've come to the end of our conversation. Can you tell us, well, to me and our audience, if we want to learn more about Delta Controls, where can we get informed or get in touch with you?
Sure. It's nice and easy. deltacontrols.com. It couldn't be easier than that. You can click connect to us. You can find a local systems integrator if you want to connect to one of our integrators from there. You can talk to us directly. And we're on all the social media channels you'd expect: LinkedIn, X, Facebook. I think we're on all of them.
Or maybe to find a local hospital where your systems have been installed.
You can see some references. In fact, the one I talked about, the St. Luke's, that's on our website. You can read up some more details about that and other sites that we've done.
Robert, thank you.
I'd like to think that there's someone's going to be laying down on a patient in an operating theatre in a couple of days' time and look at the ceiling and think, I wonder if that's one of theirs.
Robert, thank you for being my guest here at the Green New Perspective podcast. Yeah, this has been fun. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in to Green New Perspective. This podcast is proudly sponsored by New Perspective. We are a Boston-based marketing agency working with Cleantech clients solely for over 20 years now. And if you want to check out how we help our Cleantech clients to grow, you can click on the link in the description of this episode. If you like what we do here with the podcast, giving some amazing people from all over the Cleantech space a place where they can showcase their innovative tech aimed at combating climate change, you can support us in so many ways. You can leave reviews, comments, or consider subscribing to our channel on your favorite streaming platform. We've noticed that around 75% of you who are regularly watching our show are not subscribing. So just by hitting that subscribe button, you could help us to grow, to get even more people from the climate tech space and create additional content. So please consider doing that. Thank you in advance. And of course, thank you for tuning in to this episode, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye.